Welcome to our YouTube channel. Today, we bring you a story full of surprises and hidden angles that few people know about. Don't leave just yet. Just when you think you've figured it all out, there are fascinating and meaningful details waiting for you at the end of the video. Let's explore together and uncover the special message this video has for you. Are you ready? Let's get started. Along the shimmering Mediterranean coast, the city of Acre stands proudly, its white towers piercing the azure sky. Within its bustling stone streets, fishermen, merchants, and knights weave through a lively tapestry of activity. Among the crowd, two mysterious figures make their way with a sinister purpose toward Conrad of Montferrat, the king-elect of a nascent crusader kingdom. For months, Conrad had seen these men as allies, Christian monks or loyal servants aiding his campaign to reclaim Jerusalem from the Islamic Ayyubid dynasty. But as he slows to greet them, the facade shatters. In a swift, deadly move, the men draw daggers and drive them repeatedly into his chest. Conrad falls from his bloodied steed as one assassin is immediately killed by guards. The second flees but is quickly captured and dragged through the streets, meeting his end with one final confession. He is no Christian monk, nor is he simply an agent of the Ayyubids. He reveals he was sent by a shadowy and feared group, the Order of Assassins. This clandestine brotherhood, dwelling in isolated fortresses atop the forbidding peaks of the Persian and Syrian mountains, strikes terror into the hearts of kings and empires. Within the fortified walls of Alamut Castle, their stronghold, torchlit chambers echo with Quranic verses and the hushed training of assassins mastering the arts of stealth and disguise. According to legend, they were once young boys taken from villages, drugged, stripped of fear, and molded into ruthless killers. Though cloaked in rumors, their story begins far from these cold mountain peaks. A century earlier, their roots lay in the sands of Egypt. They followed Nizar, a man they believed to be divinely chosen to lead Islam as the rightful successor of the Fatimid Caliphate, a dynasty that once ruled across North Africa. But Nizar's life ended in tragedy, buried alive by rivals vying for the throne. His devoted followers, adherents of the Nizari Ismaili sect of Shia Islam, fled north, their dreams of power shattered. In the desolate mountains, they built a network of impregnable castles and rallied under the spiritual guidance of an imam. From these heights, the Nizari Ismailis spread their beliefs to the lands below, a bold defiance against the Sunni and Shia states surrounding them. Armies were raised against these mountain heretics. Even the Abbasid Caliph of Baghdad sought to crush them, only to fall to an assassin's blade. His son, vowing revenge, met the same fate 3 years later. The Nizari's weapon was not just the dagger but also fear, striking at their enemies' hearts while spreading dread throughout Sunni and Crusader courts alike. In their battle for survival, the Order of Assassins perfected their art. Even the mighty Sultan of the Seljuk Turks awoke one morning to find a dagger beside his bed, a chilling message delivered from the shadowy imam of this relentless order. "Had I not wished the Sultan well," the assassin had declared, "that dagger, instead of piercing the hard ground, would have sunk into his soft breast." These chilling words drove the Sultan to abandon his campaign against the Order of Assassins. For this shadowy brotherhood, victory was never about defeating armies. It was about striking fear into the hearts of their enemies, silencing campaigns before they began by targeting their commanders. Yet by the 13th century, a new adversary emerged, the Khwarezmian Empire, a growing Sunni power. And from the farthest reaches of the east, a force even more formidable loomed on the horizon, the Mongol Empire. Nomadic riders surged across the steppes, fierce and untamed, carrying with them the wisdom and horsemanship of their tribes. Subjugation under the Mongols promised a paradoxical blend of submission and autonomy. Obedience to the Great Khan allowed conquered peoples to maintain their own religions and governance. But those who resisted faced annihilation, as the Khwarezmian Empire would soon learn. Its royal bloodlines were severed, its cities razed, and its people massacred by the hundreds of thousands. The Nizari assassins, descending swiftly from their mountain strongholds like carrion birds over a decimated battlefield, sought to align themselves with the Mongols. Yet rumors of their deadly precision preceded them, and the Mongol Khan viewed their refusal to submit as a direct challenge to his divine authority. Ala al-Din Muhammad III, the Imam of the Assassins, perceived this growing hostility and sought allies elsewhere. In 1238, he pursued a diplomatic gamble, reaching out to the Abbasid Caliph of Baghdad to propose an unprecedented Muslim-Christian alliance. Their envoys traveled westward, passing through humble villages and grand courts alike, warning that the Mongols would not stop at the lands of Islam, but would soon ravage Christendom as well. Their warnings were met with disdain. In England, the Bishop of Winchester dismissed the idea outright. Let us leave these dogs to devour one another, that they may all perish. The Christian courts turned them away, and soon after, the Mongols devastated the principalities of the Rus and swept into Eastern and Central Europe. Undeterred, Ala al-Din resorted to the assassin's signature method, striking first. Disguised operatives infiltrated a Mongol war camp and brutally killed the General Chagatai Korchi. This act of defiance infuriated the Mongols. In retaliation, the great Khan monk ordered his grandson Hulagu to eradicate the Order of Assassins. Hulagu's instructions were clear: show mercy to the obedient, but obliterate all who resisted, down to their wives, children, and kin. The Mongol campaign began with swift brutality. Kit Buka, a Christian general under Hulagu, led an advance force that captured several Nizari fortresses. But the assassins fought back with the only weapon they had left: fear. At Gurdku, they sneaked out during the night, slaughtering 100 Mongols in their sleep. Despite these small victories, the Nizari resistance faltered as Kit Buka pressed on, driving their people into the open countryside, where thousands were massacred. The daughters of their fallen warriors faced fates worse than death, condemned to lives of slavery under their conquerors. Amid the chaos, rumors swirled that Ala al-Din had descended into madness. His own son, Kursha, believed that resistance was futile and sought to negotiate with the Mongols. Yet even as their ranks splintered, the assassins' reputation for subterfuge endured. At the heart of the Mongol Empire in Karakoram, paranoia gripped Monk Khan. Reports of 400 assassins infiltrating the steppes in various disguises left the court in a state of unease. But the assassins' internal discord proved more destructive than any external force. In 1255, Ala al-Din was found stabbed to death in his own bed, possibly with his son's approval. The once mighty Order of Assassins, whose name had inspired terror across continents, was now a fractured shadow of its former self, undone as much by their enemies as by their own betrayal. At just 26 years old, Khor Shah rises to power, declaring his father's death and proclaiming himself the new Imam of the Nizari Ismailis. But his ascension comes at a time of unparalleled danger. Hulagu Khan has reached Persia, and his army's arrival is said to shake mountains and strike fear into the hearts of kings. Despite wishing to submit to the Mongols, Khor Shah hesitates to meet Hulagu in person, wary of treachery, and refuses to dismantle Alamut, the assassin's most fortified and sacred stronghold. A short distance from Alamut, Mongol forces approach a steep hill where Nizari defenders emerge, armed with bows, swords, and daggers. The assassins repel the furious Mongol charge, sending riders tumbling back, but their victory is short-lived. The Mongols retreat only to devastate the surrounding countryside, laying waste to crops and resources. The true test lies further west at the fortress of Maimundiz, a centuries-old castle carved into the side of a red cliff. Here, Khor Shah has taken refuge, but his hiding place does not escape Hulagu's gaze. With 10,000 troops, Mongols, conscripts, and an arsenal of siege weapons, Hulagu arrives to crush the Order of Assassins once and for all. The siege is merciless. Day after day, the castle trembles under the relentless bombardment. Towers crumble, the cliffside fractures, and the assassins fend off one assault after another. But reinforcements are nowhere to be found. Realizing the futility of resistance, Khor Shah negotiates his surrender. He descends from the mountain, and the Mongols pour into the fortress. Even then, a final band of assassins ambushes the invaders in a desperate act of defiance, but they are outnumbered and swiftly annihilated. Maymundis falls. Hulagu compels Khor-Shah to command the surrender of all remaining Nizari strongholds, threatening utter destruction for any who resist. One by one, the castles capitulate, their gates opening to the conquerors. Only a few defy the order. At Alamut, the assassins' holiest sanctuary, Khor-Shah pleads with the defenders to surrender. His warnings go unheeded. Within a day, Hulagu's forces march up the mountain, laying siege to the fortress. Stones batter its mighty walls, but the assassins, perched in their high towers, rain arrows and punishment upon their foes. For 3 days, they hold their ground, yet they cannot hope to turn the tide. Finally, they negotiate a writ of amnesty and abandon their fortress. Hulagu ascends Alamut, marveling at the enigmatic lair that had defied empires for 2 centuries. He orders its destruction. The fortress is razed, its sacred libraries burned, its treasures plundered. Elsewhere, defiant castles like Lamasser and Girdku refuse to surrender, but Khor-Shah has already relinquished his lands, his armies, and his authority. In return, Hulagu grants Khor-Shah a young Mongol bride and sends him eastward to pay homage to the great Khan monk. But on the journey, a dispute with his Mongol escorts escalates. By Mongol law, insubordination cannot be tolerated. Monk decrees that Khor-Shah's entire family, sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters, must be eradicated. Some are handed over to avenge the death of Chagatai Korchi, a slain Mongol general, while others fall victim to the widespread executions of Nizari Ismaili followers. Tens of thousands are put to death. When Khor-Shah finally reaches Karakoram to bow before Monk Khan, he is met not with favor, but with scorn. The great Khan rebukes him for failing to destroy the remaining rebel fortresses and dismisses him without honor. Khor-Shah, now a pawn with no further use, becomes a liability. His survival stirs unrest among the Sunni factions who have since become subjects of the Mongol Empire, sealing his fate as a man who is lost. Everything, his faith, his followers, and his legacy. As the journey back to Persia unfolds, history recounts a grim fate for Khor-Shah and his followers. Mongol officials led him off the road, where he and his kin were mercilessly beaten and then executed. Of his lineage, no trace remained. Reduced to a fleeting tale whispered on the lips of men, a fragment of tradition left to fade with time. Lamasser would soon fall. Girdku would endure a prolonged siege before succumbing, and the Nizari faithful, though scattered, would cling to survival. Yet the once feared order of assassins was no more. Their annihilation marked only the beginning of Hulagu Khan's mission, as decreed by Monk Khan. The horrors yet to come would culminate in the most infamous massacre of the Mongol Empire, the fall of Baghdad. This city, the jewel of Islamic civilization, would bear witness to unparalleled devastation. In today's world, the need for stealth and security is as urgent as ever, albeit in the digital realm. Public Wi-Fi networks expose your data to hackers, while corporations and governments track your every move. Even access to games, movies, and shows is dictated by the country you're in. Fortunately, there's a solution. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you found this story interesting and meaningful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any exciting content coming up. Leave a comment to share your thoughts. We're eager to hear from you. See you in the upcoming videos with more unique and meaningful stories. Stay with us.